that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dresden Files, number 7, which is Deadbeat. Deadbeat. Necromancers. Harry, at times, could be considered a deadbeat. Maybe. And a beat with cops. You get into all these fun meetings with the title. Incredible. In this book, you see a lot of things kind of culminating, whatever, into this larger, grander tapestry. I think here you finally get to see a lot of the stories. You know, there's kind of like every book kind of has a through line on something that carries into the next, right? But mostly self-contained stories. This feels like kind of the beginning of something larger, and all of this springs from stuff that has come previously too, even if it felt like, you know, just another adventure. I mean, with the vampire court and everything, and the vampire war majorly affecting this plot, to a lot of the other revelations and things we get. This is such a fantastic and fun read that had me hooked from beginning to end. To kind of the more lore implications we get with the past, to also stuff we get with Harry here, to new characters, like, or not new, but probably the most they've ever shined with Butters, you know, and of course, can't forget Mouse. Basically, there are these necromancers causing havoc in this story, and, you know, Harry's been blackmailed, and he must remain alone until it gets so big and so out of his depth that he has to rely on the wardens, only to find out a lot of things are going on there. And it's just a whole minutia of minutia is not the right word. It is a bunch of things culminating is not a word, but I keep saying that, culminating into this kind of crescendo thing here, and it just sets up a lot too for the future, which is just really cool. And this series does a good job of doing like big major things, making that feel earned, making that feel large, but also never forgetting the heart with Harry himself and other things. And I really appreciate that. Harry is so human. And I know a lot of people flack on, and I haven't read all the books, and I get conflicting things. Some people say the worst is here, some people say the worst is yet to come. My friend Shay, for once, or she said so, and his whenever he talks about Dresden, he talks about how it gets kind of predatory, which maybe it does. But I think always the thing to keep in mind is nobody can control thought. You know, to be frank, to be clear. We would hope most of us have good, decent thoughts, but not all of us do. But does the thought matter so long as actions taken are not bad? I'm not going to be the thought police. I can't control what you think or do. The only one who knows what you think and do is you, or people know what you do. Only you can know what you think. And if you believe in a higher power, then that can know what you think. But otherwise, if it is just you and the earth, then it is only you that ever knows your own thoughts. There's no one else going to be able to look into your thoughts and judge you. They can only judge you by what you present forward. And I see what Dresden presents, and I see what he thinks. For every minutia of chauvinistic attitude or pervy comment, in his head, mind you, the rest I mean, actions make you what you are, at least perception-wise, to everyone else around you. One of the most caring, thoughtful, sincere characters in fiction for me. Maybe that's because I spend so much time in his head, whereas a lot of stories I read are kind of third person. But he's our sole vehicle into this world. And he is not perfect. He has his flaws. But at the end of the day, he tries his best to be good, to be kind, to be loving. And that's all of us really can do. If I had the ability to perceive all of your thoughts, I guarantee you would get embarrassed and maybe ashamed at least once as I'm perusing through your mind. But I would never judge you for what you think, so long as your actions are consistently kind. Because how you choose to act and live in life ultimately determine how everyone else around you perceives you, because no one can read minds that we know of as of yet. And I'm not going to go on a rant about that, because there was nothing even egregious here at all, really, in this particular book. But I love Harry as a character. I love the side characters. I love his half-brother. I love Murphy, though Murphy kind of takes a back seat in this story. The White Council, there's even more nuance and complexity there. We all hate Morgan, right? The warden that... Sure. The warden that despises Harry. But we get more nuance to him in this story. And I just think there's a lot to love here. A lot of heart. And this by far is, and again, it's a culmination of all the books. It's not like this book alone is sufficient. Like, you'd have to read them in context to appreciate this book. But this is my favorite so far. Kind of vague. Necromancers, White Council, Maverick blackmailing him, Murphy takes a back seat, and Butters takes a bigger role. This is the first time we really got to see a civilian be involved so much with the supernatural. And what I love about it too is, and I think this has been expressed elsewhere, but a very sort of different perspective that we see of Harry here. Most of the time we have people that are fairly capable, like equal to Harry. But here we have someone, just completely out of their depth, and Harry kind of takes on a mentor role, and the way he treats Butters is with the utmost respect, while also trying to get him to understand. And I don't know, something about that dynamic just really spoke volumes of Harry. He was not willing to dismiss Butters or call him a coward or a loser or anything. He understood where he was coming from, was empathetic, sympathetic, kind, and loving, and gave him the benefit of the doubt. And it paid off for him. In fact, we keep having a joke about polka throughout this story, because Butters likes polka. Pay attention for that for near the end of the book. Overall, just a solid time. If you've loved the previous books, I think you'll really enjoy this, and it might be your favorite as of yet. I haven't read all of them, so I can't speak to me personally, but I loved it. I'm gonna get into some spoilers. If you don't want any of that, well, there's the door. So first on my phone, because I have, of course, notes. You can have everything in the world, but if you don't have love, none of it means crap. Oh wait, sorry, that was from Blood Rights. I'm dumb. So actually, first things first, it's been a year since Blood Rights. Just want to try to keep a timeline going around here. So Harry's like in his, late 20s by now? Nearing 30? I don't know. Something like that. Harry, I know Harry's tired and he's upset, but Thomas isn't necessarily the best roommate. And he makes a comment about how he's letting Thomas live rent free, and I just kind of got pissed off at Harry there, even if he was a little frustrated because Harry, your brother paid off a hitman that would have killed you, so I think he's paid his due for a good long while. So anyway, but the first quote: "We're all gonna die. We know that on an intellectual level. We figured out sometime when we're still fairly young, and it scares us so badly that we convince ourselves we're immortal for more than a decade afterwards. Death isn't something any of us like to think about. But the fact is that you don't get out of it. No matter what you do, how much you exercise, how religiously you diet, or meditate, or pray, or how much money you donate to your church, there's a single, hard, cold fact that faces everyone on earth. One day, it's going to be over. One day, the sun will rise, the world will turn, people will go about their daily routines. Only you won't be in it. You'll be still and cold. And despite every religious faith, the testimony of near-death eyewitnesses, and the imaginations of storytellers throughout history, death remains the ultimate mystery. No one truly, definitively knows what happens after. And that's assuming there is an after. We all go there, blind to whatever is out there in the darkness beyond. Death. You can't escape it. You will die. I thought that was a powerful kind of opening to the book. And yeah, it is a scary thing we don't think about. We spend our lives running away from that fact through work, through family, through careers, through dreams and passions like acting. I mean, like, for instance, like I said, I've been going to an acting class since July of 2025. And I think I'm improving. I think I'm doing well. But at the end of the day, like, even if, and I'll never, but even if I achieved Al Pacino level status, right? Like, think about this. Al Pacino is an old man now, right? How many kids and teenagers, if they aren't already interested in film, know who that man is? Who's to say in 100 years, outside of the people that care about film? Because, of course, people that care about film, they'll see it still. But you're telling me some, 15-year-old kid going to see the movies, if movies even still exist in 100 years? I'm sure it will, hopefully. You think that kid's going to go all the way back to watch The Godfather? Just because? Unless he is already interested in filmmaking and film and acting and all the other shebang? Because you think Al Pacino, right? One of the greats, one of the goats of actors. Like, every actor aspires to that. How relevant will he be in another 100 years? If at all. So no matter how much you mark your stamp on history, right? From the greatest, best things to the most infamous, even still, given enough time, people will stop caring. It will just be history. I mean, think about all the history you learned about in school, right? How much of that do you genuinely give a damn about? Unless something inside you is interested in it. Like, I love, the Renaissance. I love it. So I eat that stuff up. Ancient Greece, eat that stuff up, right? But how much of that, if you don't have that invested interest, do you give a damn about? There's been atrocities throughout history, but the ones we get all fed up about are only a handful. And that's usually due to personal experience or something else. But things have been horrible and wrong for a lot of people for a long time. But we pick and choose what we choose to get outraged and care about, especially when it's in the past. All that to say, no matter your mark on history, eventually you will be forgotten. So even being immortal through time is not a guarantee. But we will all die. I do think it's a bit peculiar that Harry would think this, because this is a world of the supernatural, right? Like, very clearly a Satan probably exists in this world, and so does a God. I mean, we literally had a previous story with ghosts, so we know there is a form of an afterlife at the very least with ghosts. So is it so hard? I mean, with all the things that Dresden deals with, I mean, is it hard to believe that there is a heaven and a hell? I suppose he doesn't know exactly what that would come to look like, as he doesn't describe it in a particular religion, which is fair, and that's fine. But I think he can pretty much say for certainty there probably is something after. What that entails, he might not know, but I think it's safe to assume there is something, especially in this world where it's so supernatural throughout. But yeah, in this book, Harry's blackmailed into acquiring this book of Kemlar for Mavra, who basically says, like, if you don't, I got a lock of Murphy's hair, I'll ruin her life if you don't. We learn that Kemlar is the main cause of World War I, and Bob tells Harry to be careful here. Kemlar, he was friends with demons and vampires. Everything bad interacted with him. Even Justin Demore, the evil teacher to Harry, was someone who followed him. Also, guess what? Bob was owned by this man for 40 years. So that's something. In fact, Justin Demore picked up Bob from the remains of Kemlar's lab. Now, this is also so cool because Bob has always been exposition dump or pervy jokey guy. But in this book, we see a completely different side to him. We see the threatening, ancient, dark side of Bob that even terrifies Harry, because Harry keeps pushing on the Kemlar thing, and it unlocks memories that I guess Bob has been trying to, is locked away, which turns him into a completely different person. It is terrifying, and it's scary, and it's great. And, you know, Harry is able to successfully bring him back to his original self, or well, not original, but the side that we like, if a little annoyed by. And it just, again, it's just building this world. I mean, would this have impacted me as much if I didn't read the previous 6? No, but that build up there, you know, like, I'm endeared to Bob and Harry. Like, that's a fun dynamic. And to see that get flipped and have them be, like, utterly threatening is so good. We learn that 5 of Kemlar's disciples still live, and they're all looking for this book of Kemlar. Also, something about that Butters remarks on is wizards have a healing factor, you know, kind of like X-Men Wolverine. Not to the same extent, but, like, Harry's hand got burned in the previous book, right? But that is going to completely heal fine with no lasting damage. Whereas, like, with a normal human, it might heal, but there will always be on the inside like cracks and fissures in that it will never be 100% healed. But with Harry, that it will be. We also meet Gravine, who's an necromancer, one of the disciples of Kemlar, and he's like, "Muhaha, give me the book and blah 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 and whatever." What I do like in this book, which is something brought up here, and it was brought up I think in book 5 as well, is that, or maybe not the same sort of sentiment, but humans prefer ignorance. You know, Harry mentions the fact in the previous book he was on live television using actual magic, and no one believed it. They would sooner believe, you know, that it was CGI or a hoax or special effects or whatever, instead of believing what they saw. Sorry, was real. And I also find that particularly fascinating, because you look at real life, right? And you look at, take one of the most famous atheists of all time, Richard Dawkins. And he even got to the point where he said, you know, even this hypothetical, if God were to write in the sky, "I am God, worship me," he would sooner believe that aliens was messing with his mind than believe that God had done anything. So the goalpost can always be moved. If you simply don't wish the supernatural to exist, you will find a way to make it not be so. You know, it's a fascinating dilemma there, that I think, you know, I think I can pretty confidently say, like, as a religious person, if the body of Jesus like the bones, and we could like almost 100% prove that it was his actual body, there goes my faith. Easy and done. I'll stop. Some atheists are in good faith, but I think a lot of them often they say they're open-minded. They say that they're the intellectual and that any religious person is stupid. This is more like Reddit atheists, but they're so easy to dismiss it. And then when asked like, what would it take to make you believe, they typically just go like, well, I don't know, but God would know. Take Matt Dillahunty for example. But it's always pushing the goalposts, and the whole thing around this too is back in book 5 we had the cross guy who literally serves like a higher power and yet says he's an atheist. Like if you truly don't want something to be, then you'll find a way to rationalize it. So I just really enjoyed that. We also meet Cal and Kumari, who wish to destroy the copies of the book. So are they good guys or the bad guys? They're kind of somewhere in the middle. There's a really sweet Dresden and his father dream scene. Whether or not that's actually his father or not, I don't know. Also, Marcone, all the way back in book 1, rescues Harry. I also just like that connectivity, which also this whole plot kind of revolves around a lackey of Marcone. So that was kind of cool. Sorry. Did I not write it down? I guess I didn't write it down. I thought I did. Well. Anyway. Another interesting thing here is that there's this whole idea of using dark magic for good. Because Kumari, I'm probably butchering her name, would later on go and heal this guy who was near death, which gave him enough time to go to the hospital and get healed. But she proposes, like, what if we could, like, stop death? What if death just didn't have to be a thing? I mean, why is it a thing? Like, there's no inherent reason. I mean, we make up explanations. We read the Bible or whatever. We look at these things and go, okay, I guess, But no clear, definitive answer as to why we have to. And she says, so why not just stop it? Let people live. And it is an interesting, dilemma there. We also have the plot thread from book 5 come back up with Lucille, the fallen angel that is stuck in Harry's head. Harry plans on summoning the Urkling, which, by the way, they mentioned the Wild Hunt, and I was like, what is this? The Witcher? We have a very sort of similar, not exactly, but it was an interesting sort of parallel of like the witch hunt, the Wild Hunt, which would be like an apocalyptic thing, which all these necromancers are kind of trying to make happen, not for the Wild Hunt itself, but to acquire this power. Also, I don't know if we knew this before, we probably did, but Harry's birthday is on Halloween, on All Hallows Eve, which is also the day that all the necromancers want to try to acquire their power. So, not a very fun birthday for this guy. Also, I figured it out immediately. Billy claims that Harry's been talking to himself, which is also kind of meta because he does often talk to himself. But I literally said after this, what if Sheila, which is a new girl we meet in this story, who's kind of a love interest for Harry, I'm like, what if she's the fallen angel? And what do you know? I was right. It absolutely was her. So I love that. I love that I can figure things out sometimes. We also get mentions of these things here, like, again, stuff to just seed for the future of, beyond the gods and the demons and all this, we have these things called the Old Ones. Are we getting Lovecraftian here? So that's cool. Lucio, after Harry calls the wardens, essentially makes him a warden because most of the wardens have been killed off, so they need everybody they can get, and everything between Lucio and Harry as well, which is really great. Rodriguez as well, or Ramirez. a new guy who's kind of like a younger version of Harry, is fantastic. Like all these like new additions here, and Morgan, you know, Morgan and Harry may not get along, but Harry is empathetic, and he finally like looks and tries to understand Morgan from his perspective and gets it. He doesn't agree with it, but he understands it. And he doesn't see Morgan as this all-encompassing villain out to get him anymore. Like he understands where he's coming from. And I love that. And it's so good. Also, did I mention Butters, who steps up in this book and plays Polka to save the day? And also the fact that Harry reanimates a dinosaur in this finale, like only in Harry, man. This it's just fun. It's just fun. Like, can a guy have fun? I enjoy the book. And if you've been enjoying the Harry Dresden book so far, I'm sure you'll enjoy this book too. I don't think there's any individual book in here that I'd say is like, oh, this is fantastic literature on its own merit. But I think this series as a whole is already, it has my heart, and I'm all for it. Listen, I love me my contemporary fiction. I've been growing, and I really love me some good prose. I really love me, some good writing. And I still can't wait to read Name of the Wind, even though people said there's no plot. But look, if it's got some beautiful prose, it's going to distract me well enough. And I love literature, man. I love that I can have stories like this, which are just fun and heartfelt and full of emotion and empathy, and just tug at the heartstrings and tug at the fun strings. And I can also read something like a Blood Meridian and be absolutely fascinated. It's just like, you get the whole wide spectrum of the world, and I love that. And I love that I learned about this series, because at first it wasn't. I don't know how I felt about it. But the more you stick with it, the more it's just like, I can understand why people get upset with some like pervy stuff in this series, but like, Harry is such a human, man. Like, humans aren't, sometimes we suck, but we can also be so caring and so kind. And Harry is like, I would absolutely be this man's friend. Like, he's so lonely. That's another big thing about this. Like, he's such a lonely person. And he never allows that to make him like bitter or resent people. But I guess he does resent people at times, but he tries his darndest to be the best person he can be. And isn't that the best that we can all do? I don't know. He's like, on one hand, he's like aspiring, like Superman. But on the other hand, he's super relatable, like Spider-Man. But he's a wizard in Chicago. And he's a little pervy sometimes. In his mind, at least. But I don't know. I think Harry's an incredible main character, and I love these stories. And I'm, one of the privileges of being so late into BookTube, and especially like the fantasy books and stuff. Like, I got Malazan out of the way. I've done it. I've read all of Malazan. That's probably like the only fantasy I've like completed right now, right? Is there anything else fantasy-wise I've completed? I finished some trilogies like, the Sunder Nation or the Edan trilogy. But no, like the only big series so far has been Malazan. How about that? But because of that, I have the opportunity to experience all these stories that people have talked about for the first time blind. And it's wonderful. Like, people are waiting, by the time you're watching this, has been out for a while, but 12 months, the next book in the Dresden books, like, that's what, book 18 out of 25 that are meant to be made. But here I am at book 7, and I still have so many more to go. Like, I still get to experience that and enjoy that, or hate that, or be uncomfortable, or whatever people say. Like, I still have all that to experience. And, maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe people can't get past, like, certain comments that Harry says in his head, mind you. But I don't know. I think Harry's positives far outweigh the negatives. And like, bro, he makes me want to be a better person. Like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. But he's also his worst critic, more so than any reviewer is going to be. I feel like I can relate to that too. I don't know. But if you want a fun time, honestly, I think the ultimate measure here is, do you like Supernatural? because you will probably enjoy this if you enjoy Supernatural. Like, people mention Buffy and stuff, but like honestly, it's like Harry would get along with Sam and Dean. Like, there's just no way around it. Like, it would be the case. Probably more with Dean, but still, like, it would happen. Actually, he might like Sam more. Regardless, like, they got similar vibes. So, yes, I recommend it. Please read it. Please get into the series. Why are you watching this review if you haven't started the series? But like, just read them. Have some fun in your life, you know. Just like, not everything has to be literary and perfect. But anyway, I loved it. I'm so excited for the next one. Till next time. Poca in the end can save the day. That's what I learned from this book. That's the only thing I learned from this book. Totally. Anyway, see you.